careful, Teresa. That elite was an ultra.
Sun dwellers and moon Quakers are officially confirmed in my mind. Unironically. Today we're going to be diving into it. We're going to be steel manning the moon Quaker comments from Brigham Young, Joseph Smith Sr., and the O.B. Huntington journals. And I think it's going to be quite enlightening. Gone are the days where we're going to be bullied for our kooky cosmic beliefs about space travel. Oh, we're basically Scientologists who believe in Xenu. I believe that I'll get my own planet. That's all done. And it's really not going to take that much in terms of mental gymnastics. All we have to do is just replace a few words and suddenly everything starts to make sense. So hear me out. We got to stop saying planet. If you think about planet, that's weird. That's been permanently locked into our minds as a ball in space that is light years away. And when it comes to traveling between planets, what instantly comes to our mind is SpaceX, NASA, these sorts of ideas. And so when that gets juxtaposed with religious stuff, and Lorenzo is supposed to be able to go to the moon, we imagine Lorenzo in his three-piece double-breasted coat with his cane, just T-posing and shooting through the stars to go to different planets. And it's a little ridiculous, okay? But I don't want to dismiss these comments. I want to be able to believe them, because I don't think that when Brigham Young said that the Earth used to be next to Kolob in the beginning before the fall, and then it was moved to this solar system after the fall, I don't think that he had in his mind the idea of a giant rocket booster being attached to planet Earth and pushing it and guiding it all the way here to a new orbit, okay? I don't think that is what's happening. The other problem is that we've been to the moon, allegedly. That's mostly a joke, but I don't know how much I have confidence in all these mathematicians who are involved. I used to believe in American excellence, but now that the narrative's changed and the true facts, the true engineers behind the moon landing have been revealed and cemented into the mind of the American consciousness, I'm starting to doubt it. And after COVID, where I had to get on countless Zoom calls and just say, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, my mic's not working. Oh, my mic doesn't work. Oh, your mic, is it your mic or is it my mic?" After all that, you watch the footage where the president picks up his rotary phone and looks at his bubble TV and has a real-time conversation with this Neil Armstrong guy who's on the moon. And it's as someone who's experienced a Zoom call, that seems extremely suspect. Anyway, I'm mostly being silly here. I do believe that the moon landing happened. I do believe that Americans are capable of that level of engineering, that level of greatness. But I do understand why certain people get hung up on certain details about it, because it's all very fishy and all very convenient with the Cold War and whatnot. So, maybe the footage is faked. Maybe the footage isn't real time. Who knows? I think we actually went there. But when we did go there, there were no moon Quakers. That's one thing that we can all agree on. If and when we did go to the moon, no moon Quakers who are 6 feet tall and live for 1,000 years. That brings to my mind, if I got on a spaceship, maybe in the future we get on the SpaceX Costco brought to you by Wendy's Frito-Lay spaceship, and we blast off with our quantum rockets at light speed. We've identified Kolob and we're on our way there. Tower of Babel style, we're going to go there. We're going to go see God. And we have, cryo sleep chambers so that we can go to sleep for however many hundreds of years it takes to get there. And we arrive, we pop out of the cryo sleep, we land on the planet Kolob, or the planet where God lives. We hop out. I don't think anyone would be there. I think it would be a rock in space. I don't believe in fleshy aliens that are, gray men, or even aliens that look like us. I'm not inclined to believe that if you hopped on one of Elon Musk's spaceships that you could fly somewhere and find a fleshy alien creature that you could touch. I mean, maybe, but probably not. That's how I think about it. How can we reconcile all these statements about the moon Quakers? And the answer is Paper Mario, okay? So let's think about Paper Mario. You know, he lives in a 2D world. He's totally flat. He lives in Flatland, right? And then we're gonna compare that to like Mario Galaxy Mario, right? 2D Mario, you know, the 2D Mario guy, Super Mario World, that sort of stuff. They can only move back and forth, up and down, right? And Mario in the Super Nintendo could never comprehend the world of Mario Galaxy, right? But Mario Galaxy Mario, he could comprehend the world of the 2D Paper Mario world, no problem. And he could cast his shadow into the world. Mario has to jump over all these Goombas and navigate over all these barriers, whereas a 3D Mario could simply walk around them. From the perspective of the 2D Mario, he would seem to phase in and out of existence as he navigates around these barriers. And when we go to the Bible, it talks about how the resurrected Christ was able to appear in a sealed room without going through the door. And yet, he was still able to eat, you know, the honey and the fish. And so this kind of opens the door to the idea of, you know, higher dimensional beings. And if you've ever done math involving some of these higher dimensional shapes, you'll have to do like a transformation. We could even call it a translation for our purposes, where you basically project a three-dimensional space onto two-dimensional space. It's like a shadow. If you hold up a cube over 2D land, it casts a shadow, and that shadow is a square. A square is very much like a cube, but yet a cube is essentially incomprehensible in the world of Paper Mario. Think of it like that. With this in mind, I think it's not too kooky to believe that there are beings on the moon, but that we cannot see them. We could not possibly interact with them. Why? Because the beings on the moon are terrestrial beings. They're higher forms of life. We are telestial beings, and they are terrestrial beings. And how do we know this? Because they live for 1,000 years. They're all very tall. We know that the millennium will be a time when people are resurrected to terrestrial bodies, and the world will be in a terrestrial state, and we will live for 1,000 years. And, you know, there will be no death for 1,000 years. And so, in light of that, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Terrestrial kingdom's a moon. On the moon, there's terrestrial beings, which is a higher form of life than us. Like Paper Mario, we could never possibly see or even comprehend any more than a shadow of what these Super Mario Galaxy types are. Anyway, just a thought. To wrap up here, I just wanted to read a cool quote out of the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And there's a lot of really cool quotes about the sun, about there being 3 suns. You know, there's a spiritual sun, a solar sun, an intellectual sun, which is very reminiscent of our ideas of intelligence, spirit, physical matter. We also know that there's different types of physical matter. There's telestial, terrestrial, celestial. There's even degrees of celestial matter. And we know that people from the celestial kingdom can visit the terrestrial kingdom at any time they want, but the people in the terrestrial kingdom can't visit the celestial kingdom. I don't think that they are geographically separated that far, right? We can think of them as being right on top of each other, and yet you can never go there. Just like how Paper Mario could never experience all the complexity of Super Mario 64. He can move around on the surface of the painting, but he could never go in it, right? There's also an interesting quote where the 3 suns of our solar system are associated with Jehovah and Christ, and for some reason he calls Christ the second Logos. It's a very fascinating title for Jesus Christ, and it's very evocative of some of the Mormon doctrines about Christ. We know that Christ is the Word, but the idea that he is the second Logos, in the same way that he is the second Adam, all of these ideas seem to ring very true to us. So let's read the cool quote. It says, "Some secret orders have taught that the sun was inhabited by a race of creatures with bodies composed of a radiant spiritual ether, not unlike in its constituency the actual glowing ball of the sun itself. The solar heat had no harmful effect upon them because their organisms were sufficiently refined and sensitized to harmonize with the sun's tremendous vibratory rate, aka heat. These creatures resemble miniature suns, being a little larger than a dinner plate in size, although some of the more powerful are considerably larger. Their color is the golden white light of the sun, and from them emanate 4 streamers of vril, Vril is like a Latin word that's related to virility or manliness, something like that. These streamers are often of great length and are in constant motion. A peculiar palpitation is to be noted throughout the structure of the globe and is communicated in the form of ripples to the emanating streamers. The greatest and most luminous of these spheres is the Archangel Michael, and the entire order of solar life resemble him and dwell upon the sun, are called by modern Christians the archangels or the spirits of light. And there's 7 main archangels, and frequently they're associated with different colors, and there's 7 colors of the rainbow. There's 7 primary colors. There's true orange. You can get orange by mixing red and yellow. You can approximate it. But if you get a prism and split the light, there is true orange that you can't split into red and yellow. The shadow of Kolob may be a star millions of light years away that's seemingly unreachable. The distance between God and man may appear to us as unreachable. It's essentially infinitely distant from us. And the ancients had a big distinction between, like celestial matter, because the stars don't fall, whereas terrestrial matter falls. But I think the truth is that this celestial matter, while it may cast a shadow that appears infinitely distant from us, perhaps Kolob is much, much closer than we realize. And when the Earth fell out of the orbit around Kolob and came to this solar system, maybe we can think of that as it was translated into a lower dimension, or it became a shadow of its former self. Those are some interesting thoughts. The idea of these glowing beings, glowing dinner plate beings on the sun. We see these biblical depictions of angels, and they have 4 faces, or they're made of multiple rings and different angles, and perhaps all of this is simply trying to describe a being that is a higher dimension, or maybe dimension's not the perfect idea, but we're going to use the word realm. See, that sounds a lot less silly than planet, because realm sounds kingly, and it sounds more old. It's a being that can interact with other realms in a sense. How would Paper Mario describe Mario 64? We were so excited for the 3D graphics that we had this, stretchy face on the menu of Mario 64. How would Paper Mario, or 8-bit Mario, or whatever you want to call him, how would he describe that? He has 4 faces. He has infinitely many faces. His face is like many wheels, or it may be very difficult for a Paper Mario to describe the face of a 3D Mario. And so we have these interesting depictions of, the seraphim who have 6 wings or different things. I mean, we could say, how would you describe a cube if you were Paper Mario? You say, oh, well, it's a square, but it has 6 faces, which is true. That's what it is. With 2, it covers its face. With 2, it covers its feet. And with 2, it does fly. Those are your thoughts for today about interdimensional beings, aliens, moon travel, moon Quakers. And I hope that the next time someone bullies you about these moon Quaker Kolob comments, that it doesn't bother you. You don't have to spend any more energy thinking about it. It's not that unreasonable. I mean, it's certainly more reasonable than what a lot of people believe. Maybe you can just explain it like, hey, yeah, those DMT entities, bro, those are shadows from another dimension, and there's a lot of distortion because you filled your head with drugs, and so those machine elves that everyone keeps seeing, they're actually shadows of demons from another realm that want to convince you to do bad things, and that's why everyone who does drugs says the same stuff and thinks they're enlightened, but actually they all sound exactly the same and have nothing unique or interesting to bring to the conversation, man, because we're all just energy. Anyway, it's not that kooky. Moon Quakers are far less kooky than what the average person believes, I would say. Or at least they don't have to be that weird. You don't have to believe in aliens or little gray men to believe in moon Quakers, literal moon Quakers. That's all for today. Have a good one.